And on the immigration thing, America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up.
Family, we have got to talk on today. There is so much to discuss, and we're going to jump right in because I do not believe in wasting anybody's time. So, we have been blessed with the presence of two former presidents who came out in support of their party, who came out to either scold or encourage the American people as to why they should vote for Kamala in this election. And you heard right at the beginning of this broadcast. Now, we know politicians put a lot of words in answers that can be simplified with a yes or a no or a simple why. But we know they toss a lot of jargon into the conversation, almost to the point where you forgot the question. But basically, former President Clinton gave us the explanation, to sum it all up, that Americans just aren't having enough babies. And that made me ponder for a moment, because this is the party that promotes Margaret Sanger's position. This is the party of abortions. Now, whether you believe in abortions or not, that's your prerogative, that's your body, your choice. It's all up to the individual. But it seems that if we had such a shortage on people to the point that you have to bring other people in to work, it looks as if you would stop promoting the termination of children as much as you do. But let's hear what he had to say, because I want to give him an opportunity to speak on the entire issue, and then we're going to move on to something else, because we as Americans, we might as well accept the fact that immigrants, illegal immigrants, are here to stay, and we will prove that on today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into hear what Clinton had to say.
And on the immigration thing, she's the only candidate who has actually endorsed a bill that would hold down immigration in any given year to a certain point, and then make sure we gave people a decent place to live. We didn't divide people from their children, and we did total vetting before people got in. Now, Trump killed the bill. The bill was being written by senior Republicans in the Senate, and he killed the bill. Why?
Okay, I'm going to tell you why, because here comes his jargon again. That bill that was proposed by Kamala and her team, that bill would have given more money outside of the United States, like we have been supporting these wars across the waters. So more money would have been funding that. That was included in the bill. And also, they would have slowed down immigration to the point where it wouldn't be as shocking as it is today. Still allowing 1 million or so immigrants to enter into the country each year. So this is why President Trump said, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to continue to send foreign aid, all money, when we have people in America that needs that. We're not going to continue to fund these crazy agendas that you all have going on. And We're not going to allow almost 2 million people to come in here a year. That was the plan. Let's continue.
You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened.
He just ruined it for her by saying that. Why would you say that? And you're supposed to be advocating for her. You just said that she failed to do her job, her and Biden. Let's continue.
But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen, and America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up. Okay. So we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work. There wouldn't be a problem.
So America's not having enough babies. Now, again, whether you believe in abortion or not, that's your right, that's your choice. It would seem that they would be encouraging the birth of more children other than having free abortion and vasectomies at Democratic national conventions. And they targeted that community, that area, and that particular city because it's mainly foundational Black Americans in that city. But let's just look. This is the CDC on reproductive health. It gives a lot of information, a lot of stats. You can also go down here to click on the particular year that you want to get more information about how many abortions per state on the year. I pulled one up, and this was from 2018, and we're just going to skim through this right quick. Look at Alabama. Look at Arizona. 12,000. But we're not making enough babies. 12,000. Florida's over 68,000. Illinois, where they had the Abortion on Wheels clinic this past summer, over 37,000. And this is just for the year 2018. New York's over 73,000. This is just a year, y'all. Ohio, over 20,000. And the numbers go on. Virginia, over 17. Washington, over 17. These are high numbers. So according to 2018, the total number of terminations in the United States was 619,591 terminations. And like I said, that's your choice, but don't come and say that we're not having enough children. That doesn't make sense because this is just in 1 year. Yet and still you want to bring over millions of illegals and millions of immigrants into this country every single year. Now, this is not only an American thing. I watched a documentary some months ago. I forgot what country that was, but a lot of these major countries, are bringing in immigrants. And so I want to just prove my point with that, just to let you know that they are here to stay. There may be a ray of hope, and we'll discuss that in a few moments. So this is Sky News, I believe. It is in Australia. Yeah, it is. Sky News Australia. Here it goes right here. And let's just hear what he has to say. Just pay attention to the first few seconds of this video, just to prove that this is happening all around the globe.
Now, as you know, illegal immigrants and criminality are an even bigger issue in the US than they are here. And
Boom. That's all we needed to hear. Let's play it one more time for those who were in the back of the room.
Now, as you know, illegal immigrants and criminality are an even bigger issue in the US than they are here.
And they are here. So this is happening all around. Okay? And what made me come to this particular conclusion was the interview, and let's jump to that J.D. Vance had with the New York Times podcast. Okay? And an array of questions were asked of him. Keep in mind, this is a more progressive, this is a more liberal type of platform. JD went on and answered those questions. And now she's going to ask him specifically on immigration. And I will pause it once he gets to that number. Let's take a listen.
I want to move on to immigration.
Sure.
It's another place where you have had a bit of a conversion. You wrote a piece in 2012 while you were still at Yale criticizing the GOP's immigration positions. And in it you said, and I'm quoting here, think about it, we conservatives rightly mistrust the government to efficiently administer business loans and regulate our food supply, yet we allegedly believe that it can deport millions of unregistered aliens. The notion fails to pass the laugh test. What changed?
Well, 3.5 years of Kamala Harris didn't help, right? You have 25 million people illegally in the country. I think when I wrote that piece, we were probably
We don't know the number.
We were at 6 or 7 million. Yeah, I mean, look, it's an estimate, right? I think DHS has said it's probably 20 million. I think they're undercounting it for a whole host of reasons. But whatever it is, it's a hell of a lot higher than it was 12 years ago. And I think that what we've learned is that unless you're serious about deportations, you are never going to meaningfully enforce the border. It's just too easy to come here, right? So you need two things fundamentally. You need, whether it's physical or technological, ideally both, you need some sort of physical barrier, a wall, to make it harder for people to come here illegally in the first place. And you need to be willing to deport people, I think, pretty substantially when you have numbers that are as high as they are today.
How long do you think it would take to deport 20 million people? Because President Trump has promised to deport as many people, undocumented people in this country as there are. So what does that timeline look like for you?
Well, I don't think you even have to deport every single one of them, because a lot of them will actually leave the country willingly if you make it harder for them to work, right? So I think that you have to combine, and again, President Trump and I really think this is necessary. You have to deport a large number of people. There are way too many illegal aliens in this country. You have to reestablish some deterrence and law enforcement for people coming here illegally. I think it's certainly reasonable to deport around 1 million people per year in the United States of America. Now, of course, we have 25 million. So that would take a long time, 25 years, if my math is correct. But again, I don't think that you have to deport everybody, because if you reestablish some semblance of a reasonable border policy, a lot of those people are going to go home willingly. If you make it harder for American companies to undercut the wages of American workers by hiring illegal labor, a lot of those folks are going to go home. I've introduced legislation to tax remittances, because a lot of what goes on is that people come into the country, they make money, they send a lot of it home to whatever country they came from. If you tax the remittances, then people aren't going to come here to sort of try to work under the table to begin with. So again, I think the focus here is like somewhat off, because people talk about the logistical difficulty of making this happen. Well, again, we have had large-scale deportation efforts in the United States. I mean, look, Barack Obama, to his great credit, deported a hell of a lot more people than Kamala Harris has. So you can deport people in this country who are here legally. You just have to have the political willpower to do it. But if you don't do this, Lulu, I mean, what are you're basically saying the United States doesn't have meaningful border policy. And the Mexican drug cartels have become the wealthiest criminal organization maybe in the entire world.
I don't want to hold this video long. I'm going to stop right there. That's the ray of hope that he was speaking of. And someone else spoke on that earlier this year, Ann Coulter. She is right of the right wing person. She is. But she also makes some very interesting observations along the way. She kind of speaks on the same thing in terms of when the borders were open up previously, how a lot of different groups went back home because the economy and the government were not taking care of illegals as they are today. So we're going to let her talk about it. And if you haven't, you can check out this video that I called Vivek Faces Hard Truth While Still Being a Racist. Now, I am Team Trump all day. I have been for some time, even when it was not popular. However, there's some people on that side that I cannot rock with. And for that reason, I will remain independent. based off of policies and based off of people, I don't think I'm going to assign myself to a particular party. But anyway, let's hear what she had to say based on immigration.
Part of you that believes, I think you basically said so, that part of that identity is tied to a certain Anglo-Saxon heritage of this country, and that you're more American if you vested into that over the course of generations that are descended from that, rather than somebody who came here with a civic commitment to the country, went through the naturalization process, and then their kids, in some real sense of the word. And the reason I respect you is that you actually have the, so to speak, the stones to be able to say it, is that you think that there's a difference in the status of the Americanness of that person. And that's where I think I disagree with you, but I want to give you the opportunity to air the case for that strand of national identity that I think we ought to just smoke out and be able to have a discussion about.
Well, the reason I mentioned the natural-born citizen is I'm only talking about President of the United States, something totally, totally different. I want to go back to Teddy Kennedy's 1965 Act rules, where, as I've said many times, so sorry if I'm boring you at this point, pre-1965 immigrants were so much better than we are. We ought to be bringing in people. I mean, immigration is just a government policy like any other taxes or, import, export fees. It's just a government policy. It ought to be used to help the people already here. So I keep saying we ought to be getting our average up. Let's bring in people better than us. And that's what it actually kicked in around 1970. So pre-1970 immigrants were better educated, made more money, bought more houses. Oh my gosh, did that change after Teddy Kennedy's Immigration Act? Now 9% of, as Trump says, legal immigrants are from the third world. There isn't that much difference between legal and illegal in terms of the cultures they're coming from. And why is that? Because at the same time the 1965 immigration passed, we also got LBJ's Great Society programs. So if you came here basically at any point from, 1632 up until 1965, if you couldn't make it, you went home or you starved to death. There was no warm bath of welfare benefits that you would be sunk into. And most people don't know this, but about 30% of the prized Ellis Island immigrants went home. 60% of Southern Italian immigrants went home. So that's how, without having any laws or having to pick this one or that one, we just naturally got the best the world had to offer. We were skimming the cream. And I think when most people, like Trump, talk about legal immigrants versus illegal immigrants, that's what they're thinking of. They're thinking of Ellis Island, but really what they mean is pre-1970, post-1970.
So did you hear what she said? Those were the type of immigrants America sought back then, up until 1965. So let me just put a disclaimer out there. I pray for the whole entire world. I hated that some of these people come over because they are fleeing turbulence in their country. I get that. I am not heartless. My problem is that we have a population of homelessness amongst our own. There are people and families that are struggling. We are allowing other people to come in and we're giving them those benefits that should go to Americans, those who have put in that work. That's my issue. That's my problem. However, let me know what you think. I'm not going to hold this video any longer. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. And I will see you in the next video. May the Most High bless.